All right. Let's try this again. Thank you guys so much for your patience. Our internet at the office went out. And so we had to wait for it to restart and get back up. So here we are again. And welcome to my live show. I'm going to start over. I wasn't too far into what I wanted to share about today. So, for the benefit of the viewers that will watch later, I'm going to go ahead and restart. And thank you so much for your patience. And thank you, Steve, Phil, and Evo out there moderating and getting everybody in the chat back on track. I appreciate you so much. And we're not going to let that stop us today. And here we go. So what I'm talking about today is when your wife says she wants to find herself. Because this is something that I went through very early on in my relationship with my husband, actually before we got married. And it's something that actually came up in the relationships I had before him. And I know many women struggle with this and thinking that they need to go out and find themselves. And good men struggle with hearing this from their wives and being at a total loss of what does this even mean? What does this mean for our relationship? What does this mean for our future? And it's a really devastating phrase for good men to hear that their wife needs to find herself and wants to go off and find herself. So I see some strays there I got to fix. So I was saying before that as girls, we watch the Disney fairy tales. And then when we get into adult life, we watch a totally different kind of fairy tale. And I call them fairy tales because they are not based in any kind of reality of what life actually looks like, what the responsibility of marriage, of being a mother, the responsibility of just being an adult looks like. These movies enable women in our fantasies of what we think life should be, of what we think love should be, and feed this entitlement to destroy our lives, destroy our husbands in the process, and blow everything up, thinking that we are entitled and justified to go find ourselves. And these fairy tales are the movies like Eat, Pray, Love, or Wild, or if you go back into the 90s, Under the Tuscan Sun, or Stella Got Her Groove Back. These are the movies, or even like Thelma and Louise. These are the movies we watch as women, seeing other women feel entitled to going and searching for their happiness, leaving behind the commitments and obligations that they have made. And we need to know that this is a very self-absorbed, self-consumed mindset, that all we think about in wanting to go find ourselves, all we can think about is ourselves. There is no consideration for what that's going to do to our husband, what that's going to do to our kids, what that's going to do to our life. We are completely focused on ourselves. And again, what we feel justified and entitled to in our own happiness, regardless of our commitments and responsibilities. So, ladies, we all know the phrases, and men, you have heard these phrases from women and have sadly experienced this. So we will say things like, I don't know who I am. Or I need to take time for myself. I've never had that in my life. I got with you, we got married, we got together, and I never took the time to really be able to discover myself, or worse, I think, and these words came out of my mouth, sadly. I've always been in a relationship. I've never been single, and so I just never had that period of time to really get to know what makes me me and what I like and what I need for me in my life. And it's not you. It's just I need to take this time for myself, and I need to go do it on my own. And can you please just give this to me and give me that time to explore and be alone and really find myself? So I'm sure in the chat that I will see later at the end of the show that men are sharing, yep, have heard that. I think before I disconnected and had to restart, somebody was saying, oh my God, that's verbatim what I've heard. And ladies, we know this. It's another wall that we put up to escape the relationship and to distance ourselves from our husband. Here's what's really going on that we need to realize is that this is really code. I want to find myself, and I put find in quotations because doing any of these things that you see in these movies, it's not going to lead you to find yourself. It is going to pull you away from your life, and it's going to pull you further and further and further away from the truth of who you really are. And we're going to get more into that at the end of, if you really want to connect with yourself, what that process looks like. And it does not look like running away from your life or running away from your marriage and responsibilities. But I want to find myself is code. And this, I'm going to speak to men in this. When you hear that, men, that is code that your wife is contemplating divorce and she wants a taste of life. If she's going to go off and go, gets these silly ideas in her head that she's going to go travel to India or go off on some retreat, or she's going to go hike or walk the Camino de Santiago, or she's going to go hike the Pacific Northwest Trail, or she's going to go off to India, or she's going to go off on some yoga retreat. She wants a taste of life on the other side of divorce, and she wants to spend time seeing what that life will be like, feel like, without you before she makes a decision. That's what I want to find myself as code for. Because what's really going on is we're not really wanting to go find ourselves if we're honest. We are fantasizing about some other life and some foreign romantic love affair to fulfill that fantasy of love that we have as women. I have a whole live that you want to go check out on the fantasy of love and the trap that is for us as women and what it does to our marriages. We're really saying that we want something different than what we have, because as women, we are living in what I call camp victim, not wanting the responsibility of our lives and believing that it is our husband's and the life we have, blaming the life we have of why we are so miserable. And for good men, it's a panic. When you hear those words from your wife, it is a panic and a really scary place to be. And we need to know that too, ladies, that in this process of finding ourselves, we're destroying the life of another. Because for a good man, it puts him in a suspension. Life stops for him. And he's in this place not knowing where he fits, not knowing what the future holds. And it's a very scary, vulnerable place to be. And for men in this place where their wife is going off and finding herself, not knowing what's going on. Is she having an affair? Is she looking for someone else? Which that is a hidden agenda, and are going off to find ourselves. Men can, in this spot, understandably and reasonably so, become needy and try to cling and reach out and try to get clarity and answers about what's going on. And men, I'm going to share at the end for you as well what you need to do, what you need to be focusing on when you hear these words, or some variation of these words of your wife needing to find herself. We're gonna look at what you need to be doing at the end. So that's what's really going on. And I want to talk to the women today. And men, of course, you're going to learn a lot from this too. But I want to talk to the women today because this is very near and dear to my own experience and part of what has gotten me to where I am today, of what it actually truly takes to connect with yourself. And it is not running from your life. So I want to get into 3 underlying issues for us as women of why we want to go find ourselves. We're going to get into the 3 underlying issues because it's not what you think it is. So the first underlying issue of why we feel we need to go find ourselves is that as women, we never developed a relationship with ourselves. We don't know who we are. And again, I'm going to keep saying this because it's really important, but you don't have to leave anything in your life or anyone in your life to truly know who you are. But it is true, we don't know ourselves. Because as women, we have spent our lives in the pursuit of happiness, of going after the things in life that we thought were supposed to define us, give us meaning and purpose, and give us some sort of fulfillment to who we are. The problem is that it's like, I use this analogy often, it's like we are a bucket with holes in it. And ladies, we can imagine that we were born as a bucket with holes in it. And in our human nature, what we try to do is to search for things in our life to fill those holes. So we search for things like a relationship and getting married, having children, having a career, different hobbies we might take on. We try to fill that hole with, or those holes with family, with friends, with going off and going on some sort of retreat or spiritual quest. And we look for those things to give us our sense of self-identity and to define who we are. The problem with that is that if we don't fill those holes from the inside by having a relationship with ourselves and having a connection with ourselves, then those things can't fulfill us. It's like they leak right out over time, and all of a sudden we're feeling that emptiness and void within us, and we're seeking the next thing that we think is going to fill that void and emptiness. So remember, I define happiness as a healthy relationship with yourself, not feeling happy, not the emotion of happy. It's really a relationship with yourself and feeling good about who you are and having a sense of emotional stability, which I like to define as high emotional intelligence. Because that leads us to making choices and decisions in life that represent us being the best version of ourselves, being in integrity with who we are, and having character, which builds a base of feeling good about who we are. And that's where we actually get to know ourselves. It's the very life we have and stepping up to the plate to be a grown-up adult and stop looking to others and things to define who we are. That you will actually realize you were always there, right there waiting for you. So that's number one of the underlying issue, women, as why we feel we need to go find ourselves, is that we never developed a relationship with ourselves in the first place. The second underlying issue of why we want to go find ourselves is that we are living in a fantasy. We are living in a fantasy because, let's be honest, ladies, as I said in the beginning, saying that we need or want to go find ourselves is code for wanting some other man out there to give us and fill us with those feelings of romantic love that we think our husbands are failing to do. So ultimately, we're searching for love. That's why we fantasize about the movies like Eat, Pray, Love, because the whole basis at the end was her finding love in this foreign man on this foreign exciting adventure. And we get these silly ideas in our head that must be what we need. So the underlying issue is that we continue to be in this search for love. And again, you can watch my episode on the fantasy of love. And you need to know that there will never, ever, ever be a man out there, no matter how perfect he may seem, that is going to be able to provide you with those feelings of love long lasting. Because the reason that we have our whole paradigm shaped around finding love, and that's the focus of our life as women, again, it comes back to that void and emptiness, and that we don't know how to love ourselves. And these movies and things in the self-help books we read and the yoga that we go to and even the therapy instills these ideas of self-love that are not actually loving yourself. We do need to learn how to love ourselves, but it isn't anything that you ever thought it was in your romanticized vision of what self-love is. Self-love is stepping up to the plate of your life, stepping up to the commitments and choices that you have made, that now you have responsibilities to, like being a wife, being a mother, and growing up to do the things you know you need to do, even when you don't want to do them. Loving yourself isn't going to yoga. It's not being self-centered. Loving yourself isn't going to get a massage. It's not going to get your nails done. It's not going on some retreat or workshop, extended workshop in some foreign country. Loving yourself are the things in life that we know we need to do that we don't want to do. It's learning to be on a budget and learning to parent yourself around money. It's waking up with your alarm every day. It's slowing down before you walk into the house at the end of the day to choose to be in a pleasant mood and greet your husband and be kind and loving. Those are the things that actually show us who we are and actually build the integrity and character for us to be real women and to feel good about who we are. You are not going to find yourself in some romantic love affair. You are not going to find yourself in yoga. You are not going to find yourself in the self-help books. I promise you, I tried those things. Not the romantic love affair with a foreign man, but I tried the yoga. I tried all the self-help books. I tried all the therapy. I tried all the woo-woo, as you guys have heard before. I promise you, you are not there. And the only way to fill that emptiness you feel in wanting to seek love is truly, truly learning to love yourself, which leads into the third underlying issue of why we want to find ourselves, which is we do not want the responsibility of life. We do not want the responsibility of life. Again, we live in this fantasy of what we think life should be. And we want a life that is carefree, that we don't have responsibilities, that we can go lay on the beach somewhere and go shopping and spend all the money we want to spend and do what we want to do. I had a student once a few years ago who just totally uprooted her life and turned it upside down and decided she was going to go do van life. And that she wanted that carefree life where she could just do whatever she wanted. She was miserable. The women that I have worked with who have a carefree life, in quotations, and have all, had a trust fund, or their parents made portfolios for them at a young age, and so they don't have to worry about money, or they married into wealth and money, and they don't have to work, and they don't have to make something of themselves in any kind of way, are the most unhappy women that I have worked with. They're the most insecure. They are the most lost. And they will tell you that. They will tell you the carefree, no responsibility life is a prison. It's an illusion of freedom, but there is no freedom in it. We have freedom. It's really counterintuitive to us. We find freedom when we actually have structure and responsibility in our lives, because it teaches us to be accountable, to learn to have integrity and follow through with our word and keep our commitments, which is what creates the internal experience of feeling good about yourself. And it helps you to understand that there is actually a you. But again, that you is not somewhere out here. It's you. And it's really not the path of the carefree, do what you want when you want to do it, and not wanting someone or something else to tell you what to do is not freedom and is not where you are going to find yourself. When you skirt the responsibilities of life and you want an easy life, as my mentor taught me, you get a hard life. But when you do the hard things in life, meaning stepping up to your responsibilities, following through with the obligations and commitments that you have made, when you do the hard things in life, you actually get an easy life. It's when we have our blinders on, and this is what I had to learn for myself. I was queen of I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And it created so many problems. I created so many problems in my life and delayed my own maturing and growing into an adult woman by living in fantasy land of not wanting the responsibilities of my life and doing what I want when I wanted to do it. I was hurtful to my husband. I was hurtful to other people. I created a massive amount of debt. And I felt like a little girl in a woman's body because I was being a little girl in a woman's body. I had no sense of responsibility. And what happens from that place and what I experienced, and we all know this, is that we have our blinders up. When we want a life free of responsibility and we want an easy life to do what we want when we want, we go through life like this. And we ignore and avoid the responsibilities that we have and just think they're somehow going to get handled and taken care of somewhere else. And we are miserable on the inside. Go ask anyone who hasn't had to work for anything one day of their life. Go ask them how happy they are. They're miserable because they do not have their hands on the wheel of their life. And that's what we do as women. And life is still happening out here when we have those blinders up. And we're not taking care of it. And even if someone's trying to step up to the plate to take care of it for us, we do not feel good about ourselves and we feel trapped by our own life and we get very, very stuck in victim. So those are the three underlying issues of what's really going on in us as women when we say we want to find ourselves. Number one, we never did develop a relationship with ourselves, so we don't know who we are. Number two, we are living in a fantasy of love and a fantasy of what we imagine life should be and romanticizing what life should be. And number three, we don't want the responsibility of life. We want to do what we want to do when we want to do it. We don't want something or someone telling us what to do. And that is, there's no you in that lifestyle. And the truth is that marriage, motherhood really is a structure that is something and someone telling us what we need to be doing. And it's the follow through of doing those things and stepping up to the plate of the responsibilities and commitments we made that actually makes us feel good about ourselves, allows us to be who we are, which is adults. And that's where we build our confidence and security in ourselves and our trust in ourselves, which, by the way, completely changes the lens through which you see your husband, through which you see your marriage and your life. You go from in avoiding the responsibilities and being a grown-up child. We go from thinking that our husband is the reason for our unhappiness and seeing all the things that are wrong and all the things that we don't like. When we actually grow up and take responsibility for our lives, we grow into a place of then seeing our husband through the lens of feeling good about ourselves and seeing all the good things and seeing the wonderful things about marriage and the wonderful things about the life that we created. So where I want to go next is, so what do we do, ladies? How do we actually find ourselves? So here's what I want you to know, because like I said, this topic's near and dear to my own experience and my own journey. I did all the things. For those who haven't heard, I was a yoga teacher. I taught meditation. I had a healing practice. I live in Denver, Colorado, and spent a lot of time in Boulder, which is like the woo-woo capital of the United States. One of them at least. And I did all the things. And I got more and more lost from myself. Was, like I said, very hurtful to my husband, very hurtful to the people in my life. And here's what I want the women to know. I found myself when I stopped searching for myself outside of the life I had created. I found myself when I stopped searching for myself outside of the life that I created. When I stopped running from my life. And I ran into the very life that I had, which included my marriage. that's when I began to connect with who I was. So you need to stop looking for yourself in yoga. Stop looking for yourself in meditation. Stop thinking you're going to go find yourself in India or in a love affair with some foreign guy. You are not in the books. You are not in the yoga class. You are not in the ashram at India. You are in here. You destroy yourself. I want to say this again. You destroy yourself and you destroy your husband when you think that you are somewhere outside of the life that you have. You are not. For me, like I said, when I stepped up to the responsibilities of my life is where I really began to find me. And I began to know myself as someone who was responsible, someone who could slow down and think through my choices and actually make a choice. I began to know myself as a loving and kind wife that could follow through with my commitments. I learned my strength. I got out of being a victim and into can't take responsibility, as I talk about. When I left all the woo-woo behind and I started to get practical and grow up to parent myself, to do the things I needed to do, even when I didn't want to do them, that is where the magic happened. And that's where I began to thrive in my marriage. And my husband and I began to have a healthy relationship because I took responsibility that I made a commitment to another person to spend my life with them and to show up and be a loving, kind wife. That those were the decisions that I made. We are where we are in life because of the choices and decisions that we make, not what has happened to us. And this is what I teach women in my happiness course. It's a very practical roadmap to get out of camp victim into camp take responsibility and begin building integrity and character in who we are. And here's a note that I want to add. That for those like me who are struggling, I was struggling with this. For those who are struggling to know and have a connection with God, this was my journey. Is that for me, I did not develop a true relationship with God and feel him walking beside me in my life until I did look within me, not out here, but looked within me to build a relationship with myself and take responsibility for my life and stop being a victim. It was then and only then when I built that relationship and connection with myself that I actually found God and realized that he was there waiting for me and had always been there and had always been walking beside me. But when I didn't have a connection to me, I couldn't have a connection to him. And so I wanted to share that because I know a lot of people struggle and are confused to find God or connect with God, and they want that in their life. That was me. That was part of me going off on my spiritual journey. I rebelled against my faith growing up, and I went off in a different direction, looking for meaning, looking for deeper purpose, looking for something higher and more powerful than me. And it wasn't until I stopped all of that and started getting serious about myself and taking responsibility for my own life that then I found me, right in the very life I have, in my marriage, in the career and job that I have, with the family I have. I didn't have to go off anywhere. And that is where, again, God was waiting for me. So I wanted to share that piece because that was a very, very important and very special part of my journey, was to make that connection. So ladies, if this is you and you've been doing all the things like I did and you're considering and contemplating blowing up your life, then that's where you want to schedule a consultation with me and get into my happiness course to learn to build a relationship with yourself and take responsibility for your life. So for the men, Here's what I want you to know. If you're dealing with your wife who's saying she needs to find herself, men need to know that it's nothing you have done. You didn't do anything wrong. There's nothing that you could have done differently that would have stopped this from happening. This is just something women do. Doesn't mean that it's okay or right, but when we can accept the reality, that's where we can make a plan and we can begin to move forward in our lives. And so you don't have to be in that place of suspension. Don't buy in to the crazy making of the underlying message that we are saying when we say we want to find ourselves, is that somehow you, the marriage and the life we've created, that you are the problem. It is not you. This is a identity crisis in your wife of her never having had a relationship with herself and thinking that there's some other life out there for her that's going to be the solution, which, as we've talked about, is not the solution. So men, you need to focus on yourself and rebuild yourself and rebuild your strength and confidence to reconnect with the things that you enjoy, that you stopped doing, trying to make her happy, and start doing the things that allow you to feel good about yourself as a man and fill your gas tank so you have the emotional resilience to navigate what is going on, and you can evaluate the situation, evaluate the relationship, and make a choice that's best for you based on your values and based on what's important to you. It's important that you let her go off and do her thing, not for her sake, for your sake, so that you are not needy and clinging, because that will give her ammo to pull away more and push you away more. And so this is a time to focus on yourself and doing the things that make you feel good and filling your gas tank. Don't panic. And if you need a path and a roadmap to rebuild your strength and confidence as a good man, then that's where I have my course for good men. It's called the Marriage Rescue Course. And it's not a save your marriage course. It's a save yourself and fight for yourself and fight for your marriage course, because that's what good men want to do. So it's a roadmap to undo the brainwashing and undo the crazy making that has happened in the relationship and reconnect with who you are as a man and build your strength and confidence. The last thing that I want men to know is, if your wife is going off and doing all the things, the yoga, the self-help books, the spiritual retreats, the workshops, the woo-woo, you need to know that it is a facade to make it look like she is changing. And I'm speaking from my own experience here. It is and hundreds of women I have worked with, it is a facade to make it look like she's doing something to change, so she doesn't have to actually do something to change and take responsibility. All of those things are a way to hide, to get our stories validated, and to not change. And then as women, we use our spiritual journeys to emasculate our husbands, to make it look like we are more spiritually evolved, that we've got life figured out. We'll use that as an excuse that we've somehow outgrown the relationship or outgrown our husband. And men need to know it is a facade, because good men will buy into her superiority complex, that she's more evolved and enlightened than you are, and begin to doubt yourself. Good men want to know that who you are and your foundation of integrity, of being hardworking, of being a good provider, of being kind and generous and thoughtful, far out. What's the word I'm looking for? It is light years away from what your wife thinks she's doing on her spiritual journey to evolve, that you are light years away in your evolution of just your foundation and of integrity and character and who you are as a good man. It doesn't mean good men don't have problems or challenges, but a good man is loyal, committed, takes responsibility, and is not going to ditch his family and wife to say, I need to go find myself on a whim. And so we have a lot that we can learn from men, ladies, and their ability to be accountable, to be committed, and follow through. We did it. Thank you guys so much please like this video, subscribe if you haven't. And thank you so much for joining me. Glad we got through the tech issues in the beginning. I appreciate your patience. And I am going to take a look here what's going on in the chat. One of my moderators, Evo, is going to be sending me questions that he pulled out from the chat. So I'm going to take a look at those to see what I can answer that would be helpful for everyone. So give me just a moment here. I hope everybody's having a nice Saturday or potentially Sunday already, depending on where you are. I'm in Denver, Colorado, and it's a beautiful day out there. It's sunny. I think it's going to be like 55, and then tomorrow looks even better. So my husband and I are really excited. We just recently moved to south of Denver to a place called Littleton, and we are on some incredible trails that we are going to go explore by bike tomorrow. All right. Thank you so much, Evo. I have got some questions here. Karen, do you have training in counseling? It doesn't bother me if you don't. This is from Lee. Thank you, Lee. How do you seem to understand so much of my experience as a married man? How do you know so well? Thank you so much for that question. And thank you, Phil, for saying, yeah, definitely go check out the About section on this site and my website, KarenSites.com, which is in the process of being totally rebuilt, which I'm really excited for. And I'll have landing pages for all my courses with pricing and everything that you need to know. But no, I do not have training in counseling. So I ended up on this path through my spiritual journey that I shared about today. I ended up on this path. I got a phone call one day from a woman asking me if I wanted to come to a free workshop. And that's where I met my mentors, David and Peggy. They're a couple and have been together for about 20 years. And David was the first person of all the therapy I had done, of all the healers I had seen. He was the first person to be very direct and blunt with me that I was the problem in my life. And he began to teach me professionally and personally, because what was important to him and the work that he's created is to have true teachers, people that are actually living and doing the concepts they are teaching, and that they would never ask anyone to do something that they can't do or don't do in their own lives. So about 10 years ago, I began training with my mentor, again, personally and professionally. And one of the very first things to come up as I built the muscle and skill set as a woman to be accountable and responsible as a path to becoming the best version of myself, and that's a continual path in my view, to have a healthy relationship with myself and to be happy. One of the first areas that he had me look at was my marriage. And he said, do you realize that your marriage is a dead limb you are dragging behind you? And I was just like, I'll never forget that call. It was on back then we used Skype. And I just like, what? Because that was like the thing I wanted to think was totally fine. I was in complete denial of the wife and woman I was to my husband. And he began and his partner, Peggy, they began to teach me about my walls as a woman. And I began to see those and understand them and see how emasculating I was. And David is very gifted at creating courses and curriculum. And so we began to work together to create courses and curriculum for men and women. And David's experience as a good man is what he has taught me. And then through the path of my marriage with my husband has allowed me to gain a deep understanding of what men go through. And my mentor has really helped me to understand that. And then with the men that I've worked with, just validating that this is the experience that men have. So very much through my own journey as a wife and a woman, and then working with a good man who has taught me so much, and then my marriage to my husband, who is a wonderful, wonderful man, and really learning to have that dance of marriage. So my experience, incredible credentials, if you will, is life. I like to equate it to Would you rather go to college and learn entrepreneurship and opening a business from a professor who's never been an entrepreneur and never had a business? Or would you want to learn from an entrepreneur who maybe never went to college, doesn't have an MBA, but has been successful and has learned business through the experience of life and actually running a business? That is very much my path, has been life experience and then learning and having the mentorship to take what I've learned through my life experience of marriage and other avenues or aspects of life, and being able to teach that path to others. And that's a little bit about my background. Oh, thanks for the nice comment, Brad. Found Karen's channel a few weeks ago. She is a godsend with her fresh perspective. I couldn't believe the truth bomb she was sending my way. Thank you. Yeah, we're pretty known for truth bombs around here. Oh, thank you, Hillerat 4-Wheel Drive. Thank you so much for your generosity. He said, thank you so much. You have validated many of my feelings when my wife would not. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm so happy that you all have found the channel to be able to validate your feelings. Luke, nice to have you. Thanks for being here today. These videos from Karen helped me find sanity, understanding what I lived for 26 years before it ended abruptly. I am extremely grateful to this channel. Thank you so much, Luke. I'm happy to have you here and appreciate your support each week. I see your name and those of you that show up as regulars. Electrifying CT, thank you so much. You're so kind and generous. I really appreciate that. What do you think about the okay, I'm not familiar with this. Let me read this. What do you think about the She-Hulk completely emasculating the Hulk in episode 1, telling him she can do everything better because she's a woman, while completely ignoring every self-sacrifice and torment he's gone through to be where he is in that moment? That's funny. Hollywood is poop. I haven't seen that. Episode or am familiar with it, but it's right in front of us, guys. Like, it's right in front of us in the movies and the shows that we watch, and our feminist culture celebrates the emasculation of men through our media and entertainment. So this doesn't surprise me at all. I'm spot on with you that is emasculation, that as women we feel that somehow we have to put ourselves on a pedestal to be better than men and more than men, to get some sense of fulfillment and sense and equality. And what I know and have experienced and teach other women is, no, we need to step into the role of who we are as women and appreciate our differences and qualities that men don't have, so that we can actually appreciate and acknowledge the qualities that men have that we don't have. Being equal isn't about having the same qualities or being better than or more. It's appreciating the qualities that make us women and leaning into those and seeing that as a path of knowing who we are. We're never going to find ourselves trying to be like a man. We're going to find ourselves by accepting the roles and beautiful experience of being a woman. This is a little off topic, kind of, but somebody made a comment on a video last week. It was a woman, and I happened to catch it because it was kind of buried down on a video, but YouTube gives you like new comments if you log into your studio. If you're a YouTuber, you know this, and there's like just a little snippet of comments, and I happened to see the snippet of comments, and a woman commented something like, "Ugh, you are extremely old-fashioned." And one of the things I like to do when I get comments like that is I like to find quotes that represent my perspective and not make that person wrong or bad or fight back. And I just said, thanks for your comment. And I found this beautiful quote from a children's author, Beatrix Potter, which you guys probably have heard of. I think she was around in like the late 1800s, maybe early 1900s. Don't quote me on that. And she had this beautiful quote, and it was, "I'm old-fashioned, and that I believe a happy marriage is the crown of a woman's life." I'm old fashioned in believing that a happy marriage is the crown of a woman's life. And when I first read that quote, it made me kind of teary, because that is very much what I believe and experience in my life. I love what I get to do in bringing my message out. I feel so honored to be in what I consider my calling from God, to teach women, to teach good men, and to help people just experience a fulfilling, meaningful life. And having found the path that I found, I feel so blessed. There is nothing I'm more proud of and that is more special to me than my marriage and my relationship with my husband. That's what allows me to do what I'm doing. I couldn't do what I'm doing and have the depth of understanding of myself without my husband as a man and what he's taught me and the ways he's pushed me to grow. I wouldn't have any of this. I wouldn't have any of it without him. And so that is the pride of my life, and I wouldn't be able to enjoy that without being connected to myself and being true to myself as a woman. So thank you for that question. It gave me an opportunity to share that was in there for, so thank you. So I'm going to wrap up here soon. But just want to come over here. Oh my goodness, so much happening out here. Again, thank you to my moderators. Thank you so much for all your help today in keeping this a nice place for everybody. I'll take just a glance at the bottom here, and then I'm gonna wrap up and go enjoy this beautiful day out here. Thank you, Phil. Thank you for validating good man. It is an honor and a privilege. So, all right. Oh, this is a good one. Thank you for reposting this, Phil. I do appreciate, this is from Sam. I do appreciate your insights and that you actually encourage women to be accountable. Do you think at times you are a little bit too easy on us as men? No, not at all. Here's the thing. When a woman comes into my course, here's the message, and here's my message on the channel too. You are the problem. You are the problem. Because if you are married to a good man, if you are just happy in yourself and just kind and give a little bit of love in here and there, you're going to have a beautiful marriage, because a good man wants to step up. He wants to provide. He wants to do the things to try to make his wife happy. That's just in his nature. And when a good man comes into my course, and this is my message on the channel too, guess what the message is? You're the problem. And that you've unknowingly given away the power to your wife, that it's up to you to build the strength and confidence in yourself and to see through the brainwashing that has happened so that you can take responsibility and build your strength and confidence so that your wife can no longer emasculate you. It bounces off and she becomes your greatest teacher. It's just different angles that we have to come at as women versus men. Men have to take responsibility for what is the weakness in me that allows me to be emasculated by my wife once they have the context. Because the thing about good men, they get so wrapped up into the crazy making and what their wife is doing through her emasculating behaviors. They're not wired the way that we are wired, so they can't see it. So I think my gift to men in my channel is to be able to see it and to hear it from a woman. But then it's up to a good man to say, okay, this is what's happening. This is a weakness in me. What do I need to learn, and what do I need to strengthen in myself so she can no longer emasculate me? You can't change your wife, but you can change yourself to begin to learn how to have constructive boundaries and navigate the relationship with your wife in a way where you use her emasculation to become stronger in yourself so you are not weak to her. Or you evaluate the situation and make a decision, this is not what I want to do, and make a choice to leave, because that is reasonable and understandable given what is happening. So both men and women have to see that we're the problem. That's what I teach of the psychology of relationships, that the relationship we have is a reflection of the relationship we have with ourselves. So it's important that I expose our poor behavior as women and how that truly does brainwash a good man, so that a good man can break out of that cognitive dissonance and then have a path forward to be able to do something about it. So thanks for the question. So all right, guys, I'm gonna sign off. We're gonna sign. Thanks, Steve. Steve said we all tried hard today, Karen. I know you guys did. I am gonna sign off today. It is time for me to eat a little lunch and go meet up with Adam. That's my husband, and Adam's gonna join us here soon. But I'm gonna go meet up with him and enjoy this beautiful weekend and day. Thank you guys so much for being here with me. Again, thank you for your patience in the beginning with my technical difficulties. I knew that would happen sometime. I knew I was going to lose internet connection at some time, and I've got Ethernet and everything. It just went out. So today was the day. Oh, well, I look forward to seeing you guys next Saturday. Be safe out there. And thank you again so much for supporting my channel and giving me a platform to be able to share these very important messages. See you guys soon.